who's worthy of that kind of adoration and love, especially from the African American community. But because again, he was somebody that belonged to everybody. But again, there was a special bond between Muhammad Ali and the African American community for obvious reasons. But it was unbelievable. I saw Sugar Ray Leonard and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Jim Brown, who again, he's an icon in a whole different way. He's just so he's so stern. He doesn't have the personality of Ali, but nobody did. So, but it just what kind of man and how he led his life really came to light, and it was an unbelievable experience. So. If you get a chance to check that out. But who's your hero? Do you have a sports hero? Because when they talked about him, they talked a lot about the people who they talked about him being like a hero, more than just I'm a fan of his. Because a lot of the stuff they talked about wasn't about what happened in the ring.
And when you look at the scope of it, for this guy to do what he did back then was huge, because the things that he did then, if he had did them now, it may be a little bit different. But with Muhammad Ali, it was about timing, and the timing that he came along, and what he did, and the way he stood up for what he believed in and things like that. It was just awesome, because you didn't have the rights back then that you have now. So by him doing those things today, it's not as impactful
right
as what
right
he did back then. And then to have the charisma that he had back then, and can intertwine with the whites and the blacks and the Chinese and the Nigerians and the Africans, whatever. I mean, it was just unbelievable. Where back then, everybody from every color liked him.
Right.
And it's you want everybody to like you, and he did, and everybody liked him.
Right.
And it showed. I'm assuming yesterday, I didn't get to see it, but I'm gonna go back today. And watch it. But
Billy Crystal was good. Malcolm X's daughter, and again, there's so many layers to this. That's what I talk about, the layers to why he was important. And you look back at historically with the Nation of Islam and how all that played out. Like he and Malcolm X were tight. I mean, people that you read about in your history books, he was right there in the middle of all of those things affecting change, not only for the African American community, but for United States citizens and citizens of the world all over.
And when you look at it, like you said with Malcolm X, when he converted his religion over, you look at him, they needed him more than they, you know what I'm saying? Because hey, if we have Muhammad, we got the voice.
Right.
Because now he's really going to get the attention of what we really need, So it all played a very important part, and he was so instrumental in so many things. You can't be sad about it. You get a little older now. You have to get to the point where you have your elders tell you, enjoy the moment. You got to enjoy it, because his life is so short. Now you got to look at it. You can remember, Devin, we were speaking about it not long ago, where you were running in the house to go watch him box.
Right.
But now life is over.
Right.
So
and again, and I think that's the thing that makes you sentimental. Yeah, we can rationalize. Yeah, he was an older guy. He had been suffering for a long time with Parkinson's. But it marks the end of a milestone in each and every one of our lives who watched him or were affected by him. Because again, it's a different kind of thing. If you of a certain age, you just don't understand what it meant and what he meant. Because it wasn't like you could turn. You had 4 channels. I grew up with 3 or 4 channels, and it was like, okay, to penetrate that. And to be a person that was on all of those and important enough to be on every nightly news, and there was no CNN and all of those things. It was really, really important. So he it marks a milestone in a lot of people's lives. For me, I think it really resonated with Malcolm X's daughter. Talked about it's sort of that link between my father and I. One of those people that we had in common, that we both loved and we both could sit there and talk about. And I look back as a child at Ali affected him and how he inspired him. And so those are the kinds of things that make his passing even that much more impactful. But again, 713-313-4354. If I had to talk about somebody that was really a hero of mine, it would probably be somebody like Earl Campbell. Of course, Elijah Wan. Because again, I'm a native Houstonian, so it's all things H-Town for me. And so it's important, I was a H-Town before H-Town was cool. You know what I mean? Like, the population is blown up, and we welcome you guys who are non-natives. We appreciate you coming aboard. But at the end of the day, you have to bleed that Columbia blue and that the Rockets red and the Astros and Jose Cruz and all of those guys. But I think for me, if you talk about just a sports hero, it would probably be for me personally, like Earl Campbell. Like Earl is somebody that I still see. I've had a chance to interview. I met him a couple times. Not friends in any sort of way. I'm clearly a fan of his, and every time I see him, I still get excited. Like I think it's a little bit different with the Rockets because I really covered those guys much more, and I was around Clyde and Elijah Wan. Went to school with Elijah Wan's brothers. So that's a little bit different. But when you talk about a hero, where you just every time you see him on television, you stop. You say, what's going on? I think it's for me. For me, it's Earl. You have a sports hero in that way?
I really don't. I've been around, a lot of them, and as far as the basketball.
Well, these guys now, these guys don't count.
But I really don't have a.
Think back.
H-Town.
Come on, man. Jackie Robinson. You were there.
I was there when he signed the contract.
No, but I'm saying nobody, like, I'm thinking back. Go back.
Not a Houston, because,
Not a Houston guy.
I'm not going to, I don't mean in a bad way, but I wasn't, into the Houston sports. Now, I was into it, but Houston wasn't my team. I'm Houstonian, but they weren't my team.
Right. So nobody that just every time you see him. No. You know who else is a guy like that a little bit? Carl Lewis and Sugar Ray Leonard. Carl Lewis, because again, Houston was a lot smaller and really a blip on the radar of national attention. Houston, if you heard Houston on television, it was a big deal because you just didn't hear. Now everything is H-Town. Everybody knows Houston. Everybody's here. Stars come in and out, movies, whatever, celebrities, Beyonce, all of those things. So it's not as big of a deal to hear Houston and H-Town. So many people have come from here and made an impact on the world. But back then, if you heard Houston on television, it was a big deal. And to have Carl Lewis associated with Houston was a big deal. And he was a guy in that way. So I don't know. We want to get your take on that. Any heroes you might have. Well, because again, for me, Earl, anytime you see Earl, you just know he left it all on the field for you, and he represented again that Monday night game versus the Dolphins.
Miami.
That put Houston sports fans on the map.
Unbelievable. And
when you talk about Love You Blue, that was important. Now again, he's from Tyler, so it's a little bit different. But that Houston, what I saw yesterday was unbelievable. You owe it to yourself to check that out. Now let's shift gears to the NBA Finals. Okay, it played out. Game 3, I really thought it was all about intensity. I just didn't. To see a team in the NBA Finals come out as flat as Golden State did, it was unbelievable. It was crazy that they were just so lackadaisical, and they didn't bring the fire, and Cleveland clearly did. And they dominated Game 3 to make the series 2-1. But then last night, it seems like, okay, all's right in the world. Things have sort of shifted back. What are your thoughts, your general thoughts about last night? And I want to get into some specifics about that.
Last night, I figured Golden State would win that game. And the reason being is that when you got to Game 3, like you say, the energy level was completely different with Cleveland. But Steph and Clay didn't play well, and to me, Steph had a terrible game. He didn't look like he wasn't in it. Body language was bad. But Curry pulled him out. They come back, but just didn't get it done. But they hung around last night, and they got out to a good start. And the second half, they shot well. So I said, well, Cleveland's in trouble tonight, so they pulled that one out.
Yeah, and LeBron, and a couple things happened with LeBron last night, and the optics weren't exactly in his favor. He got into a little dust up. I don't think it was much with Steph Curry. I did see the Draymond Green thing. I don't want to get into that, but it looked like the bully. And this is what I don't. You have to adjust yourself to. I think Steph Curry gets a pass when he plays poorly. Like, he's not played during stretches of the OKC series, and then really for the first 3 games of this series, Steph Curry was not Steph Curry that we had grown accustomed to throughout the season. But yet you kind of give him a pass, and I think it's because I think he's small, because he's small. And we've never seen a guy like that small, dominate the game the way he has, in the way that he has. It's been unbelievable to see him, but at the same time, he gets sort of a pass in a way that Michael Jordan and LeBron, they don't get that pass. But I think it comes down to him being a small guy. I mean, and he looks young, and his body type it almost looks frail in comparison. And so when he gets into it with somebody like LeBron, and LeBron is standing over him, probably outweighs him by 40 pounds of muscle, it just, it looked crazy for LeBron to be getting into it with Steph Curry. But, it's just an interesting thing, and that's something that I think, as basketball fans, I have to get used to. Like, this is the guy. Steph is the guy. If they win back-to-back championships, he's coming off MVP, record-setting wins in the combined total and in the regular season. He's done things that nobody's ever done in the sport. Yet, we don't know how to quantify that. We don't want to give him his credit. And I mean, we don't give him his credit, but at the same time, we don't punish him like we do the LeBron Jameses of the world. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you look at Steph, and what's the amazing part about this guy is that, like you said, he's small, but the guys that we grow to love, like MJ and everybody like that play above the rim, Steph is doing everything under the rim. He's small, so he's getting punished. His body can't take all the punishment that he's taking. Now, with with Cleveland, what they're doing, they're putting some bigger guys, they're roughing him up, but he's figured it out. And you see the second half, he turned it on.
Right, now, 20 points in the second half last night, 38 for the game.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the games before, the punishment that he was taking was off. It was like throwing the shot off. But people say, well, he's
so
not
because this is what I say about Steph to this point, and I give OKC a lot of credit on how they defended him, a lot of turnovers on the perimeter. What I have problems giving the defense credit for is him just missing so many shots. And I think Cleveland has done a really good job in some respects, but he just seems off, and it doesn't seem to be.
You got to give Cleveland credit because the defense can throw you off. Now Steph is doing some things that he's not used to doing. He has to guard Kyrie. So now those legs aren't as fresh late in the game. He's out of rhythm. He's out of sync. He's not getting his rhythm shots.
Right.
So now it throws him off. But now in game 4, he's adjusted. Now he's turned it on. Now he can really do what he needs to do. And
now game over, right?
Game over. Curry did one smart move, really got him going. He said, okay, we'll play the pick and roll with Steph and Clay. Now Cleveland really didn't know who to pick up on the pick and roll. Now those guys got going. Now, game over.
Well, and again, I think it is game over. What does it say about a guy like LeBron James? That 6 straight appearances, that I think is unbelievable. Does this feel like it's the last time for Cleveland? Because I still can't see anybody in the Eastern Conference that can overtake them. Maybe if Bosh can get healthy, maybe Miami, if Dwayne Wade has one more good run in him, maybe in the Eastern Conference. I think Chicago's clearly out of it. I don't think they're a team that can get them. A lot can happen in this offseason with free agency.
That's what I'm about to say. You got to wait and see.
But again, who's really checking to go to the Wizards?
In the East, Cleveland is clearly the class of that conference.
Right, by far. Toronto, again, they're missing some pieces, but they have some things in place. But again, you're not afraid of them.
See, when you go in the East, if you look at the basketball there, the Eastern Conference teams can't score. On that West, they score that basketball. You have some guys that can put it in the hole. You have multiple guys.
Milwaukee's a team to watch out for.
Yeah, they're still young. They're still missing some pieces. So, Cleveland's still going to get there. Now, back to your deal about LeBron. I say some things about LeBron, and people say, hey, you're LeBron. Hey, I'm not. But the thing is, and you and I talk about it all the time, you're bouncing back and forth from teams. You're trying to load up to get all of the players so you can win. Last year, you didn't win it. Oh, my guys weren't healthy. Now your guys are healthy. And now you're going to lose 4-1 maybe, as opposed to last year when it's 4-2. But see, and this is another thing. You get David Blatt fired. For what? You go to the finals on a stretch where you don't have guys and you lose 4-2. Now you get LeBron, my coach, and you lose 4-1 with healthy guys.
It still has to be done. It's not in the books yet, so there's a lot of basketball to be played.
It's a wrap, man. You're going home this day. You can go and cash the check, send it in. But the thing about LeBron, when you look at it, and this is where you say how he stacked up against players, what you got to look at, when you watch LeBron play, he can't shoot. Everything is bully ball. Everything.
Well, I called him the Shaquille O'Neal of the small forward position.
He cannot shoot. So I don't put him in the class with the MJs and the Larry Birds and these guys.
What about Kobe?
Kobe's an assassin. Kobe has that mentality. I don't put him in the class with Kobe when Kobe's in his prime like that, because Kobe could shoot the basketball. He could stretch the defense. Watch the game last night. They